Okay, so today I gotta just do a little bit of an angry rant. I want to just talk a bit off the cuff about this ridiculousness involving this $1.5 million copy of Mario that just sold. And this is a topic that's very near and dear to my heart. What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and typically on this channel I just talk about gaming news and gaming reviews. I like to try and play every single game that comes out, but you guys may not know this, but additionally, in my free time, I'm a very big collector. Obviously, I have a couple thousand games right here. I have every single Dreamcast game that's ever come out, every single Dreamcast demo disc, every single Dreamcast controller, but additionally, I like to try and just track down all sorts of different stuff. Things like if I'm going to get games, let's get classic Zelda or even Chrono Trigger in perfect condition. Like, I really love stuff like this, but the collecting community has had this very weird situation over the course of the last couple of years, which is very, very rich dudes kind of coming in and just trying to buy up everything they can, which has sort of led to stuff like this. Let's begin by just looking at this news story itself. A sealed copy of Super Mario 64 has just sold for $1.5 million. A super high quality sealed copy of the classic Nintendo 64 game sets a new record. Now basically the way this works, and they're going to go into this in the article itself, objects like this are graded. This is talking about a company called Heritage Auctions. Basically there are these people that their job is to rate stuff and sell it. And essentially the whole point is to try and authenticate the value of an object, to go through and basically see how nice is the box, how clean is the artwork, how good is the sealing, because sometimes there's tiny rips in it and stuff, and then you rate it due to its current value. As you can tell, this is a 9.8 out of 10. So this is technically one of the rarest Nintendo 64 games ever made, and it's also the highest value it's ever reached. Nothing has ever existed in this personal condition. They actually say that it's just something that's just so incredibly rare. Well, this sold for $1.5 million, which tops the previous record, which the previously most expensive game ever made was now sold for $870,000, and that was a copy of The Legend of Zelda. Now, here's why this makes me just a bit irked. This is BS. This is not typical gamers. This is not people that are trying to buy and sell collectibles. This is just mega millionaires dumping cash into a market that they don't understand, which is going to screw over every other collector in the business. This actually happens. Only recently has this started to happen. Retro collecting has always been a very big market. There's always been people that are trying to find the best playable version of every single game they grew up with. It's a mixture of nostalgia and investment. People who are wanting to find these games and keep them in the best style possible. I mean, even myself, I have things like, I'm obsessed with Metal Gear Solid, so I have all the Metal Gear Solid games factory sealed in perfect edition, but I also do things like every single edition of every single Shenmue game, perfect in factory sealed condition, including this is a French collector's edition. I mean, everybody collects stuff for a different purpose, but this stuff right here, this is not people that are just buying it for the fun of it. They're not doing it for the love of the game. They're doing it because of perceived value. Now, I want to actually look at a statement here by Pat Contry. This is actually Pat's the NES Punk. Really good dude. Well, I think he has a really interesting observation about this. Super Mario 64 was auctioned off for $1.5 million. It is the successful result of 2 years of a concerted effort between Heritage Auctions, WATA, and a small group of collectors from other hobbies with deep pockets to artificially pumped up the sealed game market. However, this pump is unnatural and dangerous long term. 99% of these games are not as rare as these purchase prices justify. The price increase is meteoric. We don't know what these copies are actually, how many of these titles exist, because we don't have population reports. Essentially what he's saying here is that this kind of stuff, as fun as it is to put in headlines and stuff, it's going to end up screwing collectors in the long run. Stuff like this breeds two separate things at once. It makes artificial inflation, it makes it where typical games become way more valuable for the short term, which means it screws over a lot of just common gamers trying to buy stuff, and additionally, it ends up spreading so much misinformation. The thing that kind of just irks me the most is the difficulty this creates for just random people who want to buy stuff. Like if I want to go out and I have $50 in my pocket and I want to try and find some classic games, it's almost impossible now. Like if you're a GameCube collector and you want to try and find some half decent stuff, you can't get anything because not only is this jacked up the market artificially in my opinion, but it's making where there's this false scarcity. Everybody believes that every game is rare. Typical garbage now is worth 10 times as much because people see stupid headlines like, oh my god, you can get Mario for 1.5 million. In fact, this even happens in really freaking public ways. A couple years ago, this actually happened 10 years ago now, it was hilarious. On Storage Wars, this very stupid TV show, sorry, I don't really like reality television, they do this thing where they go up to closed down storage units and you bid on the stuff that's inside it. Well, this guy claimed he found a $13,000 NES, and it was a standard random NES, just a freaking NES. He basically found this in a storage unit. He found the classic old NES model. One of these he was claiming is worth $13,000 because these people see these stupid headlines and they believe that everything is way more valuable than it's supposed to be. And you know who this screws? It doesn't screw the really rich dudes who already have big collections. It doesn't even screw over people like me because I already have most of the stuff I want. I've got hundreds of PlayStation 2 games. I've got some of the rarest PlayStation 2 games ever made. I've got my full set of things like the Dreamcast. It doesn't screw over people like me. It screws over the new collectors. And that is actually what annoys me the most, is because I think collecting as a hobby is incredibly damn fun. I think the constant thrill of a treasure hunt, of trying to find those particular games that you love the most, trying to track down those new cool games, getting excited for that next big hunt. I mean, that to me is such a great thrill that I feel like everybody at some point should get into video game collecting, at least in some sense. I mean, even now I'm just buying PlayStation 4 games because they're so dirt cheap, or I have tons and tons of Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 games because right now they're so freaking cheap. They're so freaking fun. I think there's just a funness to being able to have these physical, great condition games that we know and we love. And stuff like this, straight up, it hurts the market. It hurts everybody around it because while it is a fun headline, it's fun to talk about the most expensive game ever made, it's just a stupid racket. Now currently, there's a lot of conspiracy theories going around about this game specifically, saying that this deal seems a bit fishy. Apparently, stuff like this might be used to launder money. It might be some rich dude who has a bunch of money he's trying to make disappear, so he just buys an expensive item to basically funnel it to one of his friends. Or this might just be some weird attempt for a guy with like $1 billion to try and move 1.5 million tax-free to a different bank account. This kind of stuff happens, but if he's doing it, this is a very public and very dumb way to do it. Either way, I feel like everybody loses. People with video game collections, unless you plan on selling it right now during this bubble, I feel like everybody is getting screwed over by it. Collectors, new buyers, casual fans, gamers who are just trying to play a copy of the games they grew up with on freaking physical hardware, everybody is getting screwed over by it. Now I want to end this video with just a quick statement, something you may not know exists. If you are talking about wanting to play games, if you're wanting to play stuff on the original hardware, which I think is the best way to play it, consider getting a flash cart. If you've never heard of this, a flash cart is essentially a little thing that lets you put a memory card inside a console and put every single game on it. I have one for every console. I've got one for Genesis, Super Nintendo, everything, including the Game Boy Advanced. This thing is great. While you're tracking down and collecting these games, wait for them to get cheap. Wait to find stuff for yourself. Get things for the cheapest value, and I promise it makes it a lot more fun. Most of the games I have here, I paid less than $5 for. Some of these games I paid $1 or $2 for because I like to wait for a good deal. I'll buy a disc separately from a box. I'll do whatever it takes to get a great deal. I am not going to succumb to this stupid hype. As much as I love these games, as much as I appreciate the hype around this talk, a $1.5 million copy of this game helps nobody and hurts everybody, but mostly just the collectors. Thanks so much for watching, gamers. This has just been a random rant. God, it feels good to just vent a little bit. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. Also, for absolutely no reason, I decided to get in a foot race with a T-Rex, and I absolutely beat that guy. So here's a video from that. This is from the Perot Museum. I spent this weekend looking at dinosaur bones and beating a T-Rex. Enjoy. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.